G'day YouTubers, I will preview this week's round of the AFL games. Before I start, it will be muchly appreciated if you can subscribe, comment and like. Every subscriber will be very much appreciated. Alright, let's get the show started. Let's go! Yeah! My review of my round 13 points are: the first game, I tipped the Crows to beat Richmond. Damn it, Richmond won. The second game, I tipped the Bulldogs to beat the Lions. Damn it, got that wrong, 0 from 2. On Saturday games, I tipped the Hawks to beat the Giants. Yeah, correct. Fourth game, I tipped the Eagles to beat North Melbourne. Damn it, North Melbourne won and got their first win for the year. The fifth game, yeah, I tipped the Saints to beat the Suns. Got that correct. For the Sunday game, I tipped the Swans to beat the Cats. Woohoo! That's 3 correct. The Sunday evening game, or twilight, I tipped the Bombers to beat the Blues. Damn it, Carlton won. And the King's birthday game, I tipped Melbourne to beat Collingwood. Damn it, incorrect. Therefore, I tipped 3 out of 8 games incorrect. Therefore, my total for season 2024 is 72 votes for the season. The leaders for my Brownlow votes after round 13 are: I have 3 pairs in equal top spot on 20 votes. They are Heaney, Sydney, followed by N. Dacos, Collingwood, and A. Trelaw, Western Bulldogs, all 3 on 20 votes. In 4th spot on 19 votes, I have C. Sarong, Fremantle, and in 5th spot, I have Z. Butters, Port Adelaide, on 18 votes. I will preview round 14 of the AFL season. The first game of the week is between the Brisbane Lions and St Kilda. The players in the mix for the Lions are Lyons, Pryor and Robertson. For the Saints, their players in the mix are Crouch, Jones, Garcia and Philippou. The players injured for the Lions are Ashcroft, Gardner, McCarthy, Coleman and Dode, whereas the players injured for the Saints are Hayes and Cordy. If you look at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, in ruck for the Lions you have McInerney, the midfielders of McCluggage, Neal, Dunkley and Barry. For the Saints you have Marshall in ruck with the midfielders of Ross, Hill, Steele and Windhanger. If we compare the two, you got the big O against Marshall. Expect Marshall to win hitouts and gather a lot of possessions around the ground. But the midfielders is the difference between the two. McCluggage against Ross. McCluggage is a class player who just signed a 7-year contract extension. Brownlow, or I should say 2-time Brownlow winners. Neal against Steele, both inside players, very good quality players. They have Dunkley, 2016 Premiership player, against Hill, former Premiership player for the Hawks. Hill runs more with speed on the outside, and they got the hard worker Barry against Windhager. Looking on the paper, the Lions have a strong midfield, and based on last week's result where the Lions won easily against the Western Bulldogs and the Saints won a close one against the Gold Coast Suns, I'm going to tip the Lions to win. They've got too much power in the full line with Hipwood, Danaher, Cameron, and because the game is played at the Gabba, I'm going to tip the Lions to win this game. The second game of the week is between the Western Bulldogs and Fremantle. The players in the mix for the Doggies are Baker and Poulter. For the Dockers, their players in the mix are Brody and Erasmus. The players injured for the Doggies are Waitman, Caulfield, Norton, Johannesson, Lever and Smith. The Dockers will be missing Cox, McDonald and Corbett. Last week, the Bulldogs lost to the Lions and Freo had to bye. If we compare the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Doggies you have English and ruck with the Bond, Trelaw, Harms and Williams as the midfielders, whereas for the Dockers you have Darcy in ruck with Young, Sarong, Brayshaw and Fife as the midfielders. If we compare the two, English against Darcy. I'll give the chocolates to English. Darcy is a good young ruckman. In midfield, you have the powerful Bontempelli against the lead kicker Young. We say Pont win that position. And in the other midfields, you got Trelaw, who's inside-outside, against Sarong, who can just run all day. Then you have the hard-working inside grunt-work halves against Brayshaw, who is another runner. And then the fourth midfielder, you have Williams, the elite kicker, good on the outside against Fife, who's still finding his feet after a couple of years of injuries. Fife is good in the inside. On paper, the Doggies have a good mix in the midfield. However, the Doggies do have a lot of injuries in the forward line. No Norton and Darcy was missing last week due to suspension. 3 round of fresh off a bye. However, teams that do have a bye do struggle a little bit, such as Sunday's game when Sydney played Geelong. Geelong had a 3-point lead in the second quarter, and then Sydney switched it on and had a 60-point turnaround. However, given I said that, I'm going to tip the Dockers to win. The Bulldogs were outplayed easily by the Lions last week, and therefore I expect Fremantle to have a slow start, but then overrun the Doggies with all their injuries to their key players. The next game is between Richmond and Hawthorn. Who would have said this would be game of the week a month ago? The players in the mix for the Tigers are Dusty, Banks, Coulter and Blight, not Malcolm Blight. And for the Hawks, their players in the mix are Watson, Ward, Ryan and Wingard. The players injured for the Tigers are Hopper, Lynch, Pickett, Ross, Maurice Rioli, Gibcus and Lafu. For the Hawks, they will be missing Lewis, Stevens, McCabe, Blunt and Butler. Last week, the Tigers had a brilliant win over Adelaide in Adelaide on a Thursday night, and the Hawks beat the Giants on Saturday against GWS at Tasmania. If you compare the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Tigers you got Nankervis in ruck with the midfields of Taranto, Prestia, Baker and Ralph Smith. For the Hawks, you have, if he returns back from injury, and I'm assuming he is, Meek in ruck with the midfields of Newcombe, Weddle, Warpel and Mackenzie. Therefore, if we compare the rucks, you expect Nankervis to win the hitouts. However, Meek is good around the ground and can get more possessions than Nankervis. Then the midfields, you got the inside power of Taranto against Newcombe, both pretty similar top players. Say that is even. And then the second midfielders for the Tigers got Prestia against Weddle. Weddle's a good young midfielder. Prestia just coming back from injury. The third comparison of midfielders is Baker against Warpel. Warpel with his inside strength. Baker can go on the outside. For the fourth midfield, you got Ralph Smith and Mackenzie. Say that's even. Looking at the ruck and midfields for both sides, it looks pretty even between the two. However, I'm going to tip the Hawks because they've been on a great run. They won 4 of the last 5, and unfortunately, if they didn't play defensive against the Power in the last quarter, they should have won that game as well. And yeah, I'm going to tip the Hawks, and I can't believe it. They've got a great chance of making the finals if they continue to win, and they've got a great chance against Richmond. The next game is Adelaide at Sydney. This is going to be very interesting. The Crows have been put under the spotlight in South Australia. The press has been very disappointed with the Crows' performance, and there has been a lot of noise coming from the press with the Crows' bad performance against Richmond. However, saying all that, the players in the mix for the Crows are Pedler, O'Brien, Curtin and Gallant. For the Swans, their players in the mix are Hamling, Laddams and Francis. The players injured for the Crows are Crouch, Rankin, Milford, Worrell, Parnell and Miller. For the Swans, they will be missing Mills, Corey Warner, Reid, McCartan, Shelderick and Parker, who is suspended. If you compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, I assume that Strawn is injured, so I've got O'Brien back in ruck, and then the midfielders for the Crows, you have Dawson, Laird, Soligo and Schulberg. He only spent 2 CBAs last week against Richmond. For the Swans, you have Grundy in ruck with the midfielders of Jordan, Rowbottom, Chad Warner and Gordon. If you compare the ruck midfielders for both sides, you got O'Brien and Grundy. You expect Grundy to dominate in hitouts, plus also around the ground and gathering possession as an extra midfielder. Then you have the midfielders of Dawson against Jordan. Dawson with his elite kicking. However, Jordan provides plenty of brute and grunt work. Then you got Schomburg. He hasn't played that many games this year against Rowbottom, who's inside outside, can run all day. Then you got Laird, inside player or midfielder, who gathers plenty of possessions against Chad Warner. What a gun player he is. Chad Warner can go inside, but also can spread on the outside. And then you got young Soligo, who's a good young player against Gordon, one of the best kickers I've ever seen. Elite outside player, magnificent player. Therefore, looking at the ruck midfield setup on paper, the Swans, they just have an awesome, very awesome midfield. I expect Grundy to give first use to the midfields, and their midfields are going to provide so many inside 50s to their forwards, where this will provide so many opportunities to their Papali, Donald, Haywood, who just signed a 5-year contract extension. They just got so many weapons up forward. And I forgot, Heaney, you can also put him in the midfield, but he's goal kicking mid. On paper, the Swans are just too good. They only lost 1 game this year, can't believe it, against Richmond, and they're my favourite for this year's premiership. They're just too good. And the Crows, their football, been playing pedestrian slow, going down the wing or down the line, as I say, in the pedestrian movement. The ball movement between two sides, you watch Crows, it's very pedestrian. The Swans just go with speed and pace. When they got from the defence, got elite kickers like your Blakey and the Gordon. I expect the Swans will win pretty easily against Adelaide. Therefore, up the Swans. The next game of the week is between the Kangas and Collingwood. The players in the mix from North Melbourne are Phillips, Greenwood, Hardman and Lorazzo. For the Magpies, the players in the mix are Allen, Johnson and McInnes. The players injured for the Bros are Lowe, Gota and Coleman Jones. For the Magpies, they're missing a number of players, good players as well. Elliott, DeGoey, Myercheck, Mitchell, Cox, Penalby and McStay. If we compare the ruck midfield setup for both sides, you have Xavier in ruck, David Giacchi, Simkin, Wardlaw and potential Machoka back for the Kangaroos. For the Maggies, you got Cameron in ruck with the midfielders of N and J Dacos with Lipkinski and Cripps. Hence, if we compare the two, Xavier against Cameron, say that's even between the two rucks, or I should say a slight advantage to Xavier. And then the midfielders, David Giacchi with power against elite kicking, or I should say elite player in N Dacos. Say that's even. Then we've got Machoka against Lipinski. Machoka is a young player, therefore I'll give Lipinski the chocolates to win out of the two players. Then you got the captain Simpkin against Cripps. Cripps has been a magnificent recruit for the Brisbane Lions. I expect Cripps to do very well and is pretty physical. And then you got young Woodlaw against Jay Dacos, who's a great kicker. On paper, the Collingwood still has a good ruck midfield setup. Even though they're well makeshift ball line, I'm still going to tip Collingwood to win this game, even though North Melbourne won their first game against West Coast last week. The last game of the week is between GWS and the Power. Players in the mix for the Giants are Keith, McMullen and Ralston. For the Power, their players in the mix are Captain Rosie, Narkle and Cluey. The players injured for the Giants are Harriman, Bruce, Kennedy, Lee, Kirkniglio, Kelly and Aish. That's some great players missing for the Giants. For the Power, they will be missing Rioli, Jackson and Power Pepper. If we compare the ruck midfield setup of both sides, for the Giants, you have Bricks in ruck with Whitford, Callahan, Tom Green and say Toby Green. For the Power, you got Soldo in ruck with the midfielders of Butters, Ron Francis, Wines and Drew. If we compare the two, Briggs against Soldo, Briggs is a good young player, but Soldo is a premiership player with experience. I tip Soldo to win that battle. And then in the midfielders, you got young Callaghan against Butters. Young Callaghan is a good young player, but Butters, all Australian gun player, elite, got a bit of pace. Whitfield against Horne-Francis. Whitfield can run all day. Horne-Francis inside-outside midfield, tracker type, explode from stoppages. I expect Horne-Francis to win that position. Then you got Tom Green against Wines, both big body inside mids. Therefore, I just give the chocolates to Tom Green. And then you got Toby Green against William Drew. Toby Green is more of a forward than a midfield, and Drew can tag and is inside grunt midfielder as well. Therefore, if we compare the two, both teams have good midfielders, and the power slightly has the advantage here. This game is very hard to tip. The Giants lost away to Hawthorn, but it's the informed Hawthorn, and the power had to buy last week after they had that bad loss at home to counter the previous week. This one is hard to tip, given that the Giants got a number of injuries, and the power very unpredictable to predict. It's very difficult to tip, and it's a flip of a coin between the two sides. I'm going to take a punt. This game is played at GWS. However, Port had a bad loss against Cowan, and I'm going to expect a reaction, and I'm going to tip the power to win this game. That's my tips for this week. I selected the Lions to beat the Saints, the Dockers to beat the Doggies, the Hawks to beat the Tigers, Sydney to easily beat the Crows, Collingwood to beat the Kangaroos, and Power to beat the Giants. Thank you for watching my show. Please subscribe, comment and like. Every subscriber will be much appreciated. I hope to hear from you again. See ya! Have a good day or night, depending on what time you watch your show.